recordings or did work, but they needed it. So I'm trying to send that. Looks like we've got a couple other people that logged in since I just did this. Okay. So basically that's saying that we're going to keep the $10, but they want to know how much in addition to the $10 that we would get. Well, you would say that that is, we had a 4 out of 5 chance of winning. And you would take that and you would multiply that by the $10 that you bet. And so 4/5 times 10 is going to give us $8. And I've shown my work here. That's the correct answer on that. So in total, I'm going to get 18. But they're not asking that. They're asking how much in addition to the 10 am I going to get, which would be 8 in this case. Okay. Number 40. The odds on or against your bet is 1 out of 6 or 1 to 6. If you bet $24 and you win, how much will you gain? So 1/6 times 24 is 4. So you would get $4 in winnings, but you would also get your $24 back. But they're asking about the extra, okay? A bag contains 6 red marbles. I'm going to blow this up just a little bit so that y'all can see, but I need to be able to see a little bit better. A bag contains 6 red marbles, 3 blue marbles, 7 green marbles. So here we are. Here we have this bag. We've got 6 red marbles in here. We have 3 blue marbles and we have 7 green marbles. If a marble is randomly selected from the bag, what is the probability that it is blue? Well, we would want to put at the bottom of the fraction, we would want to put the total number of marbles we have. And on the top of the fraction, we would want to put how many are blue. So we would say, well, there's 3 blue out of 6 plus 3 plus 7, which would be 3 out of 16. We would try to see if we could reduce that fraction, but I do not think you can. And so the right answer is going to be C on this one. We have a 3 out of 16 chance of drawing a blue marble. On a multiple choice test, each question has 6 possible answers. If you make a random guess on the first question, what is the probability that you are correct? So if there's 6 questions and we just guess randomly, then we have a 1 out of 6 chance. This is our guess. We can only guess 1 out of the total, which is 6 choices. So we would have a 1/6 chance. The probability that Lewis will pass his statistics test is 0.85 or 85%. Find the probability that he will fail his test. Well, um, you would do 100% minus 85%, which would be 15%, right? And then you would change it to a decimal. So you would want to divide by 100 or move your decimal over twice. And so the probability that he's going to fail it is 0.15. So if he has an 85%, another shortcut here would have been just if you know that 1 represents 100%, I was just trying to do a good job of explaining, but if you know that 1 represents 100%, you could just do 1 minus 0.85 and get the 0.15. Either way, that's a little bit shorter. That might be easier for you guys. Okay. Just making sure that I do not have anybody log back in. Number 44, at a lumber company, shelves are sold in 3 types of wood, 4 different widths, and 4 different lengths. How many different types of shelves could be ordered? Okay. This is called the law of multiplication. We have 3 different types of wood. We have 4 different widths, and I have to use the same. So this is wood, and we have 4 different lengths that the shelves can be. And so you really just take it and you multiply the numbers. So 3 times 4 is 12, times 4 is going to give you 48 possibilities. So on 44, 48. A restaurant offers 2 types of crust. They offer 3 different toppings and they have 3 different sizes. So how many different kind of pizzas can they make? 2 times 3 times 3. The same principle here. You're going to multiply all of this stuff together. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. And so we have 18 in this group. A shoe store carries 1 brand of shoe in 4 different styles. So we have 4 styles of shoes. We have 4 sizes and we have 3 colors. How many different shoes are available? This law of multiplication, it should tell us that 4 times 4 is 16 and 16 times 4 is 48. And so we're going to end up with 48 different types of shoes if we take into account the styles, the sizes, and the color. Okay. How are we doing? Is everybody okay? May the 4th be with you too. Okay, so I know that was a long time ago that you said that, but I have a son who is named Luke. So, of course, this is a running joke, like, I am your father. But yes, may the 4th be with you too. And what makes it worse is he's Sean Luke, and so he got the hard and he went by his middle name Luke, but he got the hardest time in school when people would find out his first name was his dad's name, so they would be like Jean Luc all the time. I know y'all don't care, but okay. 47. The population of a town is increasing by 609 people per year. So this is one of those times where you're trying to decide, is it exponential or is it linear? Are you multiplying to get to the next step? Or are you adding or subtracting? So if you're multiplying, it's exponential. If you are adding or subtracting, it's linear. So you're trying to decide, am I adding or subtracting or am I multiplying? So the population of a town is increasing by 609 people per year. So that sounds like we're just adding on 609 people. State whether this is growth is linear or exponential. If the population is 1,200 today, or 1,200 today, what will the population be in 4 years? Okay, so linear because we're adding on 609. We want to calculate what's going to happen in 4 years. We've got 1,200 plus 4 times 609 because we're adding on 609 4 times because it's happening 4 times because we're doing 4 years. My brain's going to work in a minute. And so when you do that, you should get 3,000. I'm going to write it over here. 3,636. 3,636. Okay. During the worst period of hyperinflation, during the worst periods of hyperinflation in a certain country, the price of food increased at a rate of 25% per month. When you see this rate, you need to start thinking, I'm going to multiply to get to the next step. So exponential. When you see rate, you think multiply. Say whether the increase was linear or exponential. It's exponential because we're multiplying, not adding or subtracting to get to the next step. If your food bill was $140 in 1 month during this period, what was it 3 months later? Okay, so to calculate this, you're going to put what you started with. Then you're going to put what you keep right here. Okay, you always put what you keep. So if the price of the food increased at a rate of 25%, I'm not just keeping the 25%, I'm keeping 100%. So I'm keeping 1 to represent the whole $140 back. And then I'm also keeping an extra 25%, which is the 0.25. And I'm going to do this for 3 months. So that's going to be an exponent there. So the one got us back what we had to begin with, and the 0.25 got us the additional 25%. And so that's going to be $273. I'm getting 4,375. It says to round to the nearest dollar as needed. So we would go to this, and it's a 4, so it's less than 5. So we would say 273. Please make sure you pay attention to what they want you to round to. Please make sure you pay attention to what they want you to round to. That part's going to be important. So write an equation for the linear function and use it to answer the question. Round the values to 2 decimal places. We only have 53 questions, so we are very close to being done. I'm going to go back and make sure everybody's okay, and it looks like they are. So Normalton High Schools, Normalton, I don't know, Normaltown High School's pool record for the 100-yard freestyle. I think that's crazy in Arkansas. Like, we don't have very many swim teams, I don't think, but I do think across the country they do. Was 48.30. I'm assuming this is seconds. Probably says that somewhere in 1990. Assume that the record falls. So it's going to go down at a constant rate. Now, this is important because I said if when you see rate, think multiplication, but this is not a percentage. This is saying it's going down 0.07 seconds a year. It's not saying that rate is not actually a percentage. It's used in a different vocabulary. Does that make sense? At a constant rate, it's just constant. It's not saying that it's a percentage. So we are subtracting something to get to the next step. What does the model predict for the record in 2013? Okay, so if this is me, I would say I might write it a little bit different, but I'm just trying to explain my thought process that it was 48.30, but every year people are beating that record and they're beating it by 0.07 seconds. And that was in 1990. We want to know what happens in 2013. So the difference from 1990, how much time has gone by from 1990 to 2013. If we were to subtract that, we would get 23 years. And I meant, so this is like 2. So I would actually have to do 2013 minus 1990 if I was going to get that answer. And so we would say 23 here. Now, when you're looking at this over here, you're probably going to get pretty close to the right answer by just getting the actual typing this in the calculator, I guess. 48.30 minus 0.07 times 23. So I'm getting 46.69. So it has to be D, because that's the one that's correct. And it does look like this, right? It's got the 48.3. We're subtracting, but they're saying T is the number of years that have gone by. So you can plug anything in for that, which is why that's the correct answer. We just happen to go ahead and put the number of years that had gone by. The cost, we're writing an equation. The cost of renting a car is a flat $34 plus an additional 23 cents per mile that you drive. How far can you drive for $81? So the equation would be $34 plus 23 cents every mile. So now they're saying, well, okay, if your total is $81, then how many miles can you drive? So this one is kind of an algebra problem, right? So we would go, okay, let's get rid of the things that are on the side with the letter. So I'm subtracting 34 from each side. 81, take away 34. is 47. And then these would cancel out, which is what I need. It turns to 0. And this is 0.23 m divided by 0.23 divided by 0.23. And so m is 47 divided by 0.23, because these are going to cancel out. And I'm going to get 204.34, and it just keeps going. Okay, so when I'm looking over here, it's clear to me that the right answer is B, because there it is. It's rounding to no decimal places. Okay, we need to get to 53. Let me check on people really quick. Okay, 51. In the following situation, state whether two variables are related in a way that might be described by a function. If so, identify the independent and dependent variable. Okay, please remember that. I mean, usually, if you can think about it this way, whatever this is depends on this, then whatever you put in this blank has to be independent. It usually represents the x value. And whatever you put here should be the dependent variable, which is y, right? Did I get that backwards? Something depends. No, I did get it backwards. I'm so sorry. My brain. Backwards. I want to make sure we get this right. Whatever goes here depends on whatever's here. So this would be your independent, I apologize, whatever the x value is. And this would be your dependent variable because it depends on something, which is usually your y value. Okay, so you're taking a road trip in a car and you want to know how far you've traveled at various times during your trip. So if I'm driving in the car and I want to know how many miles I've traveled, then the two things I'm kind of talking about is the miles versus the time that I've been traveling. So do the miles depend on the time, or does the time depend on the miles? I think the miles depend on how much time has gone by, right? The miles depend on the time. Um, the miles depend on the time, and time is almost always independent. And so that may help some of you if you knew that time is almost always independent. So it should be A. The independent variable is time, and the dependent variable is the distance traveled. I just called it miles, but the same thing. Okay. 52, write a short statement that expresses a possible function between the given variables. The weight of a bag of coffee beans and the price of a bag of coffee beans. So we know that if you I'm thinking about groceries and how expensive they are. And so I was looking at, actually this happened really recently. I was looking at a bag of grapes and I was like, "Oh, those look really good." And y'all know, like, if you want fruit, you better get a banana because that's the cheapest thing, right? So I was like, "Oh, those grapes look really good and they would be healthy for me." And you put them on the scale, the heavier the grapes weigh, the more it's going to cost, right? So as the weight of the coffee beans goes up, the price of the bag of the coffee beans is also going to go up, right? That's how those two things are related. So on 52, the right answer is A, as the weight of the bag of coffee beans increases, the price of the bag increases. That just makes sense. So you need to try to think about kind of what the problem is, um, and just kind of read it out loud if you have to kind of sort things out. This is the last question on this review. I will tell you one other thing, but I will add that in just a second. Crafty Bills, I'm just trying to remind myself. Crafty Bills Cool Car Sales opened as a used car sale in 2001. The graph shows the number of cars sold as a function of time. So we've got the time going by on the x-axis and we've got the cars sold on the y-axis. What is the approximate number of cars sold in 2003? Okay, 2003 is about right here. So if we go up and we go over, So this would be halfway in between 600 and 800, so that would be 700. So it looks like it's a little bit closer than 600 than 700, but that's not really a choice. And if I look at the dot, it looks more halfway in between. And so I'm going to say 650 cars. We're just reading a graph there, okay? So there is, that's the last of the review. Um, the actual test is not quite as long. I will put in the email exactly how many questions it is, but I don't think I know it's not 53. Um, so there will be some of you who will listen to this, and as I have learned, there will be some of you who do not, which to each his own. There is an extra review. Listen to me. The review that you have for your final is part of your grade. The extra review that I'm going to open up is just extra practice. It's not going to, if you do it, it's just like homework. So it may bump your grade up just a little bit. If you don't do it, I'm not marking it a 0, so it won't hurt your grade at all. It's going to say extra review for final or something like that. So it'll be very obvious. There is a final review. This is where last semester there is a final review and it's up now and it is for a grade. And I think it might even count as a quiz grade. Like it's like all your other tests. Like you take the test and then you got your final review, which I said I was going to drop the lowest quiz grade, so I might need to look at that. I might not be able to do that until after we take our final. But this other assignment that is that is optional is going to say extra final review, because I will have some students who are really wanting, they may be struggling and they want some extra problems, they want to know if they're getting them right, they want extra practice. It may not be you, and that's okay, but there are other people, there are some people in here that maybe are struggling a little bit, or maybe they're not struggling and they just have done good all this time and they want to keep doing good and they're going to practice extra for their final because that's who they are. Okay. So I'm going to open the extra final review. You do not have to do it. It will not hurt your grade. If you do it, it will maybe bump up your homework average a little bit, but it's just like every other homework grade. It's not going to like make it be, a whole lot better. I just don't want to make it like false represent what's going to happen. Okay. So if I'm going to stop sharing this tonight, I'm going to go in as soon as I can send out the email for the notes. I'm going to drop your lowest 2 attendance grades. Your final review, I think, is a quiz. So I said and I will drop your lowest quiz grade. So if it's your final review that ends up being your lowest quiz grade, I guess I have to wait until you take your final review for me to drop your lowest quiz grade. You have to take your final from Monday to Wednesday of next week. It is a lockdown browser situations, just like your chapter 8 and 9 tests, just like chapter 1 and 2 tests. You need to get somewhere where you can take your test. If you do better on your final than you did on chapter 1 and 2 or chapter 8 and 9, your final can replace the lowest test grade. If you do worse on your final than one of those, I will, of course, not replace it because that would hurt you. I'm not going to do anything that's going to hurt, only things that are going to make it better. If you have not finished a project, um, Brandy, you'll be surprised because I feel like this final is, because it's mostly multiple choice. A lot of people do better on it. That's what I hope for you guys. But if you're, forgot what I was thinking. Hold on one second. Um, if you have a project or anything that it's not in My Math Labs but is in Blackboard and you're well, let's just say Blackboard or My Math Labs, any projects, any extra homework that you were trying to go in and get done, you can always bring your homework grades up to a 90%. Some of them are even 100%, but depending on how I had the setting. But on that Friday before finals, that will close down. Like, you're not gonna be able to go in and bump your grade up that way anymore. So, eventually, it just has to close down. You can still work on your final review, but the rest of it's gonna be closed down because I have to turn my grades in, and I don't get to be late or I will be fired. So, it does not they don't care if my computer broke down or any of that stuff. So, they have to be turned in. So, please, if you're gonna turn in a project, make sure it's done. Um, Aw, thank you. If you're gonna turn in a project, please, 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 please have it turned in by Friday, if you're wanting it to be graded. Okay, and I will say this, I will be here Wednesday night, and I will log in, and I don't mind helping you on another project that you haven't turned in. I don't mind helping you with, questions that you have about the final. Or if you're struggling with any something else that I'm not thinking of or saying out loud, feel free to log in on Wednesday. I'm not going to take attendance on Wednesday because I really just want you guys to have it to be free to spend studying if you need to. We've already reviewed for everything, so I'm not going to count it against you. I'll send you another email probably on Wednesday with this information, just reminding you. So you don't have to log in on Wednesday. You are not going to bother me if you log in at all. That's what I'm here for. I just want it to I kind of want it to be also for people who maybe weren't wanting to ask something in front of everybody and they want to ask it now or those kind of things. Anything that you need help with on Wednesday. I will be logged in. Now, if I stay logged in for an hour and a half and people are not there, I probably will log off. Does that make sense? If you didn't show if I stay from 6 to 7:30 and there's not people streaming in, then I'm probably gonna log off. But please know that I'm not saying to you that I do not want you to log in. If you have questions, I do want you to log in because I want everybody to pass and I want you to be successful. So if you're struggling with the project or any of that stuff, feel free to log in. Okay. Um, So that is it. Oh, hold on a minute. Let me show you one thing really quickly. I know that y'all are excited to be done with this semester, I would imagine. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to Blackboard. So what I need to show you is on now, this was not open, but it is open now. I opened it right before class. So there is a folder in your Blackboard that says week 15 and final work submission. So when you go there and you click on it, it's going to have final work shown submission. This is where you should put the notes of the questions that you took on the final. So like what question number 1, this is how I got the answer. Question number 2, that's where you put this. Okay. Another thing is there is a video link for the final exam review. So if you want to go in and watch another review for the final, there's that. Look, here's another thing, more videos for preparing for the final. So if you're really struggling, like go back through and look at some of these videos. Here's another it's a different teacher than me, but they're really good. So they'll break down another more study questions for you. So there is a lot of opportunity for you to go and review again if you need to. Um, Here's the formula sheet for chapter 4. I would make sure that I had that printed off for the exam so that you will be able to use it because it's got those conversions on it. Here's the chapter 2 conversion chart. I would make sure that you have that printed. I did not make you do these projects. So that's why they're hidden from you. But the rest of the stuff is here. So if you need it, you can use it. Oh, I sure do appreciate that. Because sometimes when you're teaching an online class, you feel like you are talking to no one. But I do appreciate that. I also don't like to put people really on the spot if they're, I don't know. It's so it's so difficult because some people really need to like be called on, but because that's the only way they'll stay engaged. I guess I kind of view it as you are an adult So I know that you have a whole bunch that you need to take care of too. Okay, let's see. I see. I'm trying to get everybody. If you don't have any questions for me, feel free to log off. And I'm wishing you good luck on your semester test. If you have questions on Wednesday and you didn't know them now, you can log back in on Wednesday. Um, oh, okay. Okay. I was just making sure I didn't do something wrong. So if you need to stay on and ask me questions, please feel free to do that. I'm going to stop this recording right now.